Cydia, and welcome to the Drunken Ork. One of my favourite units in 40k 10th edition for Orks is the Grot tanks. So it's not really for Orks, is it? It's for the Grots. I just think they're fantastic little units. They're good in the game. They're fast, they're manoeuvrable, they're evasive, they hit hard, shooting accurately-ish for Orks. And yeah, I just think they're a great unit. Now, I've got 10 Grot tanks already, but I wanted more. So I was looking at how to get these. Now, I don't know if you're aware, you probably are. You can get the Grot tanks from Forge World, or rather, Games Workshop. Or is it Warhammer now? I keep losing track. And they're not bad. They're pretty good looking models, in my opinion. But they do come in at 4 for 85 quid. Now that's quite expensive. So what a lot of people will tell you is, look to the third parties. The third parties aren't as interested in money grabbing. They're much more reasonably priced. So I had a look at Cromlech and their Goblin Scrap Tank Squadron. And they're pretty nice as well, to be fair. Although they do look like they suffer breakages a bit more with some of those rockets. But these come in at €94.99 for the squad of 4. By the time you stick delivery onto them, it's about €100.99, which works out about 86.96 in Great British pounds, which is what I'm interested in. And that's about the same as the GW ones. Although it is worth mentioning, you can pick these up for about £20.82, just shy under £21 at third-party retailers such as Wayland Games. But still, that's £80 or so for 4. That's a little bit too rich for my blood. Especially as I'm looking to get at least 8 of them, maybe even 12. Now 3D printing's always an option from companies like Mr. Modulark, who does some fantastic little Grot tanks there, Max Minis, and Gear Guts Mech Shop, to name just a few. There's lots out there doing their own sculpts. The problem I have with that is it mostly comes in STL files. Now I do have a printer of my own, but it's been where I keep my slippers for the past 2 years, so I'm not really that used to it. I never was really, I never got the hang of it. I had some well dodgy print mistakes, and I just think the time and money I'd have to invest in learning this whole new section of the hobby, or at least almost a hobby in itself, it's not for me. It's not for me. However, lots of these companies also have a section of company, like a subdivision, or maybe it's an arrangement with somebody else who will print off the STL files for you, and you can buy the physical models. In my experience, this comes in one of 2 types of resin. There may be more out there, but looking at the actual resin types, one is very hard and brittle, one has a little bit more play in it. I'm not a fan of the brittle one. When I've had to cut those, it's been horrific. I feel like a caveman working with flint. I'm smashing off chunks and shards and end up with sharp edges and snaps and cracks, and no, I don't like that. The other one is a bit more bendy and brittle. You can certainly cut it easier, and I quite like that. Now, Mr. Modulark uses that one, and I've been well impressed with his sculpts, including his Grot tanks, or Gob tanks. However, when I looked on my mini factory, I couldn't find those tanks to buy. However, as well, looking at the prices of the ones I could see, we're not talking a great deal cheaper than the GW ones with regards to things like killer cans. So I imagine the tanks would be in around about the same ballpark. So I looked further afield for what I could do for my Gob tanks. And one thing I found, which seems to be taken off at the moment, is, well, something that's known as a Teemu tank. I think mostly because you can buy them on Temu. But these are tiny little toy tanks that seem to fit almost exactly the dimensions of a Grot tank. Now, I'm sure you can buy these on a number of websites, but I did find them on Temu, and I must stress, I'm not advocating the use of Temu or anything else. If you want to use it, you do you. If you don't want to, because you think it's just going to harvest all your details and later maybe even your organs, fine, don't use it. I'm sure you can get them elsewhere, but I got mine from Temu. And these came in at £2.38 each, or you could buy a box of 4 for £6.98. Now, when I'm looking at £85 for 4 little tanks from Games Workshop, or £6.98 for 4 little tanks from somewhere else, I'm going to buy them somewhere else, aren't I? And then I'm going to do some stuff to them. Some stuff to make them look more to my tastes. So, that's what this video is about. Let's have a look and see what I've done to the Temu tanks. Grot tanks. Now, I wrote that. This is how you get them. That's how they come. These ones have got a digital camo pattern. Not that that matters because they will of course get painted. This is a little Sherman tank. It's probably got a model I don't understand, but it's a Sherman, I recognise that much. This is also a Sherman. I'll pull them down here so you can see them. So we've got a couple of Shermans here, but both of them are slightly different to each other. Not so much on the tracks, they look identical. Slightly different top bits, and the turrets are different. This one has a box at the back. This is one with a square turret. I think it's Russian. I think it's a KV2, KV. I don't really know my tanks that much, to be honest with you, but I recognise it because I used the Toon tank version of this for the Grot Giga tank. Oh, exciting times. And this one's got a teeny tiny turret. So, that's all I know about that. So these are the little tanks. Now what you might notice about them is they have wheels underneath, so you can do this. Hey, your shit. Now that to me just looks like a recipe for disaster. On the battlefield and all them whizzing about the place. So what I've done with these two, see, no digital camo, well that one's got digital camo, no digital camo on that one, is I've taken out the running gear. Now you can do that quite easily. Thank you. He says, with a screwdriver, by taking out these two screws. Now you see the running gear. Now what you need to do is there's a little sort of levery bit here. I know I've done, to be fair, was just smash that off. I'm sure you could probably pull it back or something, but it's a bit tough, so I just ripped it off, and I was left with a boatload of these little things, and they really are a lot of fun. Well, that one wasn't. I think I might glue them all together. You know, I think if I've got about 12 of them, if I glue them all together and set them off in one go, I think I might be able to set off the speed camera down the street. But yeah, you take the running gear out or not, and also there's a little screw here, which if you take this off,
it's a little bit stiff. Jesus!
There we go, Christ on a bike. You can swap the turrets round, which is quite a nice thing to do, to be fair, just to mix up the shapes a little bit. So yeah, now because I took the run gear out of these ones and the 6 that I've already done, I don't know what to do, because if I get this box and pretend this box is like, you know, the table, you don't really see the holes underneath. And if this has taught us anything, it's that we don't care if a tank has got a hole underneath. Unless, of course, we do care if a tank has got a hole underneath. I'll be honest, I don't care. So I'm thinking I might just leave them, because I can't be bothered. The screw holes and the big holes there. Because you don't see them unless you go, oh look, there's holes in your tank, it'd sink. Right, that's fine, it's not a boat, doesn't matter. If I was going to plug them, ideas to plug them would be fill them full of milliput and just prod at them with a knife till they look a bit like a track. You know, it's a bit rubbish, but it would do the job. That's leading the way. Or the other one is to try and sort of like match it with plasticard, which just seems like a right fanny on, so I'm not doing that. So anyway, these are the tanks. And they're about a £5 for 4. That, and really, let's be honest, you could just go, there's my Grot tanks, get at them. I really wish I'd left all those in, I love it. But you could just run them like that, but that would be a terrible shame. So, the knife was a mistake. Let's have a look at what I've done. So, this is the first one I did. It's the turret off the Sherman. You can see I've swapped out the body. I don't know what the bottom half's off, to be fair. I've just done a bit of sort of like body and turret swapping just to mix it up a bit. All I've done is I've replaced the gun with this energy looking weapon. I think it's off some Imperial nonsense. I don't know what it's off, on guard or something. And I've put some power cables, take it back into the turret there. I put some little dags on the turret with a few rivets and bolts, an armour plate there, again with more nuts and bolts, left one spare where it fell out. Stuck the jerry can on the back, just a bit of wire bent round it just to show how it's attached. A few more armour plates. The top here, the turret, I just cut a bit of plastic tube. It's stuck on top and then stuck the top half of this little grot on it. The grot's from Gear Guts Mech Shop. I've had them knocking around for years, so that'll do there. Just a little grot sticking out the top, and just for a little bit of extra detail, it's just a bit of plastic rod with 2 loops of plastic tubing. I don't know what it's meant to be, but I find sticking these on in places looks pretty good. I like it. On the track armour, it's just a strip of 2mm plastic card. You can see here I've scored some lines on it just to make it look like it's made up of separate pieces. Stuck an extra bit on, and these little rivets are just little dots, see on the other side, of Vallejo plastic putty. There's not much left in that tube. I do have another tube here, slightly different sticker on it though, so I hope it's the same one. Looks like it is. In fact, I know it is. And that's really good, just to like blip 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 blip. Plop them on. You can see it comes with a nice little applicator, and it's used for filling gaps, but I use it a lot for these sorts of little tiny little rivets. Great stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I did stick this spiked ram on the front, which was cut off of a 1980s Rogue Trader Rhino, and a couple of headlamps as well, which I think are off a Bane Blade, to be fair, just because although it's a tank, this one's got headlamps. Now I'm showing you this one first because this is the first one of those little tanks that I've sort of kitbashed. I think you can see, even though there's only 6 of them, not all done within the same week, that I think I got better as I went on. So anyway, that's the first one. Let's have a look at the second one. This is the second one. Much smaller turret, but I give it a much bigger gun because, you know, juxtaposition and all that. It's actually got a bit of plastic tubing there just to lift the turret up so it's in a better position. And on this side, I just had a big thick bit of GW armour plate, so I stuck it on so it's got a nice angle, and I stuck one of the rockets off the Warboss blaster kit on there. As you can see, for the track armour, I just stuck a thin strip of plastic card along the side. This is just a sort of, you can see it better from the front. Well, you can't really, but whatever. Just to give it plenty clearance over the wheels and what have you. And then just stuck some armour plating on with a few little dags on. Again, little putty rivets, a little bit of a ram. That was a leftover bit that I cut off the other bit. And a few more dags on the front. And that is pretty much that. I stuck a barrel on the back and I've given it a license plate. I'll just write that Grot 1 or something, I don't know. But yeah, nice and simple. But yeah, I think it's pretty effective. I like that one. Number 3. Now with this one, as you can see straight away, I've given it a death roller or a shin splinter. It's basically just a barrel from I think it was a Temu kit, which I got some oil cans in barrels with. So I've stuck it on the front, a little bit of plastic rod. I don't know what this was, but there's the other half of it on the other side. I think it was a part of a landing gear for an AdMech flyer. So I just cut it off and attached it. It's a bit wobbly. I mean, it's not wobbly, it's just a bit thin, so it's a bit bendy, but it's a Grot tank, really. Other than that, I put the plastic rod on the sides again for the clearance over the wheels, and I much preferred this idea because you can put the tubes on to show where it fastens. And I've attached a couple of the armour plates. Now the armour plates themselves, if this will go in focus, yeah it does, are putting attached, but glued on, and then this is solder. Have I got it? Yep, it's just there. It's this stuff, solder wire. As you can see, it's about 1 mil thick, and it's just nice and bendy. And it's great for doing cables and stuff like and things like that, loops, because I drilled a little hole in the armour plate, glued the end of the solder in, and then once it was dry, I just pushed it up, and then got a knife and then just bent it over into the sort of crease here. And when you push down, it just snips through it, no bother, and you're done. A little bit of glue there first, just to keep it secured in place. Other than that, there's a box. Ooh, going off camera there. Look at this, isn't it great? Other than that, it's got a little box on the back, which was taken off a 1980s Rogue Trader Rhino. Again, I've put a little tow hook, I don't know what this is going to tow, and a couple of armour plates just scattered about. There's one there. It was one armour plate. I put some extra rivets on the turret, and for the gun I used a couple of twin auto cannons off, again, some random Imperial kit. Some dags, and of course some little killer can chains, just because I had them spare. In fact, actually I'd cut one of these chains off to use on a Beast Boss conversion, so that skull was hanging down here. So I snipped it and swapped it over just so it wasn't quite as lopsided. And the extra turret on top of that turret is from Gear Guts again. So that's my little, that's my third one. I do like this one. I love the death roller on a Grot tank. It's fantastic. It's not even up to somebody's knees really, but I think it's pretty cool. And like I say, I prefer these track guards better, but I still think I can make them a little bit better than this, which we'll see hopefully on the fourth one. Which is here. Now the fourth one is quite large for a Grot tank. It's long. It's long and it's quite high. It's within about 15 mil of the actual target, but it's quite narrow, so I get away with that. I've given it a scorcher, which is just a heavy flamer off something or other. Let's say a Space Marine. I've also got some of this solder coming out here to act as a pipe. There's one on either side, which goes on to these barrels on the back. It goes in the bottoms, just about see there. And then there's some green stuff cabling coming out the top of the barrels, which goes on the side through a little mounting pin into the sides of this big barrel on the back. Again, that's from the Temu kit, and you've got this lovely little gauge with a handle just to control the flow or some shite, I don't know. There's a Death Dread plate underneath, which holds the barrel in place. Well, I say holds it in place, it acts as a little sort of holder. You see that the curve of the mudguard there sort of just seems to match nice with the Death Dread plate. It just sits there nicely like that. And apart from that, that's how it's secured, yeah. I was going to put some chain around it, I think, but I didn't bother. A few armour plates on the body of the tank. There's some down there, there's one there, there's one there. The ram at the front, I just scratch built. There's some 2mm plastic card at the sides, because that's nice and thick, gives you plenty of support. And then the bottom PCR is only 1mm, so that's all that's needed. And the front scoop bit is 0.5mm, because it's nice and flexible. And you can bend it round and sort of attach it into place. It's also got a little bar across the top there to help secure the half mil underneath, and I've put some little Meng rivets on the top. And you may notice, if you're quite eagle-eyed, there's a lot of cocktail sticks sticking out the front. You see? That's them. The spikes. Just basically drilling holes in and gluing them in place. Simple as that, really. Not glued onto the plastic, sticking through the plastic card. It's a lot stronger. As you can see as well, the track armour is a little bit more sophisticated than the last bit, mostly because I started chipping it up a bit. I put a few holes in, and I used these. Now these, if I get this in focus close up, this is a little bit of eye bar. So it's an eye-shaped piece of plastic card. Actually, let's see if I can find it. Right, I've actually got this, which is the same stuff but a bit bigger, which is great actually for showing the example. So as you can see, it is an eye shape. Now this stuff, when cut at an angle, off like that, is pretty much what you see on the spiky armour of the Stomper and stuff like that. So what I do is I get the really thin stuff for Grot tanks, this stuff for other stuff, and I'll trim off that, just one side of it, so you've got more of a flat area to stick it onto something, like these bits of track armour. So they're flat on the other side, and you've still got the eyeball detail. Stop hogging, focus! And you've still got the eyeball detail on the outside. And it just looks like the little track armour pieces you get for the battle wagon, which I think are fucking fantastic pieces. I only use them for hanging underneath guns, so, you know, I've got no track armour. So this is a great way to make your own. And again, I've put 3 pieces here with the solder to attach them, same as normal. Glue it in, bend it over, snip it with a knife. And on the other side, well, I've put 2. It's a Grot tank, it doesn't have to match. The turret itself, like I say, I give it the flamethrower, but I just put some dags going around this side and a killer can armour plate on that side, just filed away underneath to get a nice fit over that right angle. And it's got another turret. And this turret is just the forearm guards off of a Death Dread. 2 of them glued together. I stuck a little wheel on top. I'm not even sure where that came from, but I'd say it makes a very convincing looking hatch. And a little armour plate with a shooter on for its gun. The little slit here was just a thin bit of plastic card, which I used a cutting wheel just to gouge out a slit for the visor. And I mounted it on top of another tube and I mounted it on top of another cut off of a plastic tube, just to basically give it a level base, because there was actually a hole behind that armour plate. That's why I need to put that there, you see. But yeah, that was the 3rd one. Was it? No, this is the 4th one. And yeah, it's a bit big, but I quite like it, and it's a scorcher, so it's a bit different to the others. Number 5 is my take on a mini Lehman Russ. It's basically a Sherman. I think it's meant to be a Sherman. There's a little armour plate on the back of the turret there from a 1990s Rogue Trader Ork battle wagon. Oh, one of the wheel plates. History. And it's actually got the main battle cannon off a Lehman Russ. There's a little smoke grenade launcher, some armour plates. I've stuck a las cannon on the hull over this little nodule here. And over this little nodule I stuck a little visor so you can peek out. Give it some headlights, which have got angry eyes on. They already had the angry eyes on. I just didn't want to peel them off. And I've made a couple of little sponsons as well. They were just scratch built out of plastic card, to be fair. Very basic shape. Cut the shape, cut the sides, cut the base, stick it all together. Edged it off with a bit of right angle plastic rod. And there's a bit of plastic tube there just to mount the heavy bolters on. Dead straightforward, really. For the hatch, another bit of plastic tube just to lift it up above the actual model's hatch, and then I can stick a grot on there. Now that grot, let's see if I can get it in focus. That magic hands. That grot is just from a standard grot kit. He's normally pointing that way, and his other hand's going that way. So I've done some snipping around the shoulder just so he's pointing forward. I've used the shouty head, so he's going, get over there! And a little bit of plastic tubing off. I think it was a handrail of something, just to attach. It's actually a heavy stubber, although I stuck the ammo belt onto it, slightly twisted to follow the path of the turret, and I cut the barrel down because it was out about here. It's ridiculous. So it's a little snub-nosed heavy stubber. A heavy snubber. Oh, I like that. And yeah, that's just a hatch off one of the other, off a toon tank I think, stuck on there. And just a little bit of plastic rod, just to basically, it adds a little bit more surface area to make it a stronger attachment, and it looks a bit like a hinge, so that'll do. So yeah, that's my little grotty Lehman Russ. And lastly, this fella. Again, using the same Sherman body as I've used a few times. The turret is actually off a Sherman toon tank, so they're quite a bit bigger. A little bit too big for Grot tanks in my opinion, but the turret fits on that nicely, so I quite like the size, so I went with that. The track armour is exactly as it was on the Scorcher tank, just with the rod, the solder attaching the armour plates with the eye bar, and I've also stuck a barrel on the back here with a teeny tiny tap. Yeah, look, it's tiny, isn't it? Can you even see what that is? It's a little tap. I can point to it. Now, if anybody coughs near this model, that tap's going to snap off. So, you know, don't have a lozenge. And I've put some chain around this barrel as well, just to show how it's attached to the tank. It's the chain that does it, you see. A few armour plates, spikes on the front, a few little rivets on the model itself, and then we've got the big turret. Now the big turret has got a big gun on it. I don't know what that is. I think I've actually stuck it on back to front. I don't know what it was from, but I've done that a while ago. It was originally going to be on the Grot Giga tank I did, with that barrel on anyway, and then decided not to bother because it was just too curvy and didn't fit the aesthetic. It's got a coaxial heavy stubber there, and that side did used to have a little prong on it. Don't know what it was, but it had a prong on it for tuning musical instruments. But I'd snapped it off. I tried to glue it back on. I tried to glue it back onto that. Can you imagine? What was I thinking? And it just snapped straight off straight away. So I just left it as a spike. I don't know what it is. And he has a bit of that track armour I mentioned before off the battle wagon. So you put a nice little glyph on there. You see, it looks lovely. I've put some checks on the turret already. Some more armour plates, little exhaust system on the back of the turret, which is madness because the engine's going to be in the bottom bit, not the top bit, but you know, Grots. So that's off the WAS bomb, and that's just a bit of plastic rod, big thick bit of plastic rod, score line down there, make that out. There you go, score line down there, a few rivets down the side, bit of plastic tube on top just to, you know, complete the look. It's got a little banner, because this is a boss tank, as you can see by the Grot. Now the Grot again is from the land of soft focus. There we go. It's from the Grot kit. He is the one who has got a skull strapped to his head. I've always thought he's the most ridiculous of all the Grots. So I thought if I'm gonna cut a Grot up, I'm gonna do that one because I don't like his head. So I got the head and I just basically cut the skull off. And I got this little hat from a Cromlech resin Ork. I don't know if it, not so much Commander, but there's a little Cromlech set of resin Ork heads with which have got like hats like this and military sort of, you know, beanie hats and little pot helmets and what have you. Very, very sort of like militaristic. So I cut that off carefully, getting the peak and everything, and I just stuck it at the top. And he looks like he's got a strap for his hat. That's adorable. Love that. His sword is actually just the dagger from the Ork Boys kit. I made a few cuts to that arm. This is the Grot body that's normally got the two pistols holding in different directions. So I made a few cuts to that arm, shoulder, elbow and wrist, just to reposition it slightly, and got the dagger on as well. And I've just glued it to that hatch, just to help the strength of the arm, because there's no pins in there. It's just plastic and plastic glue. So that little glue that hatch with, I think it's super glue, that just gives it a bit more strength. And also made a few cuts on this arm as well, just so it wasn't sticking out. It was just resting on top of the tank. But I think he looks a pretty dope little Grot commander. And that's it. I did buy 12 of those Grot tanks. That's the first half. That's 6 of them done. So 6 Grot tanks done for what works out at about £10.50. I mean, it's £10.47 if you want to be pedantic. So just over a tenner for 6. And then, of course, some bits from my bits box. But to be fair, everyone knows bits are free. Ish. Sort of. Some people throw them away. Can you believe that? They actually finish them on and go, oh, spares, rubbish, and bin them. Mental. Mental. Give them to me. So anyway, yeah, just over a tenner for 6 Grot tanks. Fantastic. Obviously not painted yet. I thought I'd show them off the way they are there, just with all the non-paintedness evident, because it's easy to spot which bits I've put on, what I've done, what the bits are, you know, because you can see them in their unpainted glory. So the next video related to Grot tanks, maybe not the next video chronologically, but certainly the painting video will be coming out. It'll be more of a showcase, to be fair, since I'll just be metallicanizing them. Is that a word? It's not, is it? I'm sticking with it. I'm just going to be metallicanizing them and then picking out some the key cards, as usual with my Grots. So, I hope you like them. Hope you got a few ideas from them. I hope you don't spend £85 and you only spend £6.98. And I hope you don't get your details and your organs stolen. So, I really do hope that, to be fair. I really do. Unless you're that person and you know who you are. Nah, I'm just making you up. I don't want to shine anyone. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, share, leave a comment, tickle the bell, you know, the usual stuff. And until next time, take care. Ta-da.